Fans, the energy in Santa Clara is truly electric today. A quiet move behind the scenes could shake up the offense. A bold call at a sensitive position is splitting opinions, and a familiar name could step into the spotlight if Plan A isn't 100%. And there's more. A young target just showed something that's forcing the staff to rethink priorities, and that wasn't even the most surprising part of the day. Who would you put on the field in a game that matters in the standings? You won't believe what we've got today. So take a seat, drop a like, and let's jump straight into the news. You know that feeling when the chessboard starts to shift, and no one wants to admit it? That's exactly the vibe in Santa Clara. On one side, some see the 49ers testing the market at a position fans love. On the other, momentum is building to reinforce a spot that became vulnerable in Week 1. The first clue has a name and a context. Juwan Jennings scared everyone with that shoulder injury against the Seahawks, but the early evaluations were optimistic, and there's a real chance he'll be ready to go against the Saints. He's in the final year of his deal, pushed for an extension in training camp, and without an agreement, received incentives in his 2025 salary to raise his earning potential. The front office is still negotiating to keep him in the Bay Area, but the clock is ticking. Even so, the speculation hasn't cooled. Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox argues that without an extension in place, the trade possibility remains alive, and not just for contractual reasons. In the offseason, the receiver even requested a move. If rookie Ricky Pearsall sustains the production he showed in the opener, and with Brandon Ayuk back from injury, the offense restores its hierarchy. Jennings could be viewed as a chip to balance the roster. He proved himself as a starter in 2024, and because of that, intrigues perimeter-needy teams. Knox projects a possible return in the range of a 2026 fourth-rounder plus a 2027 fifth. For the fan base, the debate is visceral. Do you give up the clutch third-down wideout if Pearsall really pops? Or is it premature to break up chemistry for future picks? The second sign points to the other side of the scale. Tight end. George Kittle landed on injured reserve with a hamstring injury and will be out for at least 4 games. Jake Tungas answered the call against Seattle with 3 catches for 15 yards, and Brock Purdy's game-winning touchdown. Modest production, massive impact. Even so, Knox suggests the 49ers monitor David Njoku of the Browns. The speculated price would be a conditional 2026 third-rounder, with Cleveland inclined to wait until its playoff picture clarifies or a can't-refuse offer shows up. The context there helps. Rookie Harold Fannin Jr. lit up his debut with 7 grabs for 63 yards, while Njoku posted 3 for 37, and that scheme has room for 12 personnel. With Fannin on a cheap rookie deal, moving Njoku becomes more palatable financially for the Browns. And here's the dilemma, heating up the meeting room. Kittle is expected back later this season. Tungas showed utility, and Kyle Shanahan's system often elevates specific roles without demanding an aggressive investment. On the other hand, January rewards teams that build elite redundancy. Do you burn capital for an immediate impact target, or trust the offensive engineering to survive the stretch without Kittle? The cost to acquire Njoku could mean sacrificing depth elsewhere. Moving Jennings would free picks but would tinker with the third-down identity. And while we weigh pros and cons, one thing is certain: the next decision could reposition San Francisco in the NFC race, and that wasn't even the most surprising part of the day. When it felt like the string of good news was finally gaining traction, a heavy blow hit the locker room. The win over Seattle tasted bittersweet because it came with a list of medical concerns. George Kittle went to injured reserve, and that alone disrupts the entire offensive mechanism. But the wound could cut deeper. Brock Purdy is officially dealing with issues, and not just minor ones. According to NFL insider James Palmer, the quarterback is managing a shoulder problem that isn't all that severe, but the real threat is his toe. That's precisely the injury that could keep him out against the Saints. What intrigued fans most was Kyle Shanahan's tone. Instead of dodging with a "we'll see as the week goes on," the coach went straight at it. If he can't go, we have a lot of faith in Mac Jones. That changes the calculus. It doesn't sound like mere caution. It sounds like concrete preparation. And for anyone who thought Mac would be nothing more than break glass in case of emergency depth, his moment to prove value may have arrived a lot sooner than anyone imagined. Now stop and think about the impact of that pivot. Purdy is the engine that drives the offense's confidence, but the 49ers have lived this movie before, leaning on Plan B. The memory of seasons shaped by injuries under center is fresh, and it's impossible not to compare. The difference? The next opponent. If there's a team you can face with your backup and not feel the same weight, it's the 2025 New Orleans Saints. The franchise entered the season under skeptical eyes, was picked by many as the weakest roster in the league, and opened with a home loss to the Cardinals. It's the perfect window for Mac Jones to breathe, settle the offense, and maybe make some noise. The fan base, of course, is split. Some see Mac as a name burned by the unfulfilled promise narrative in New England. Others prefer to believe that under Shanahan, even doubted quarterbacks can get a new lease on life. And there's plenty to support that second view. This system has turned backups into headliners before. If Mac gets a real shot, he can completely change the perception around him. The biggest risk is psychological. The locker room knows Purdy is the leader. His presence in the huddle radiates calm. Losing that for a couple of weeks shakes the group, but at the same time it can pull everyone tighter around the idea of overcoming adversity together. Players like Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel know they'll have to shoulder extra load, and the defense will feel the responsibility to keep games in check so the offense isn't chasing. And while uncertainty hovers over the quarterback spot, fans cling to a curious twist. Who would have thought Mac Jones could become a short-term hero in San Francisco after all the criticism? That's the kind of plot twist only the NFL delivers. And that's not even the most unbelievable thing we've got today. Just when it seemed the turbulence had hit its limit, the week's most polarizing decision landed. Farewell, Jake Moody. The kicker who cost a third-round pick in 2023 was finally waived, and the news hit as both shock and relief. Shock because just days earlier Kyle Shanahan had insisted there were no doubts about Moody's job. Relief because deep down the fan base's patience had run out a long time ago. This move goes far beyond swapping out a specialist. It's a mirror reflecting the franchise's recent draft missteps. Spending a day 2 pick on a kicker never felt logical, but the stubbornness in propping up that bet bordered on arrogance. Moody didn't just struggle on the field, he overhauled mechanics, worked on confidence, and still didn't deliver. For a team used to playing at the top, losing games on chip-shot field goals was absurd. The lesson is clear: don't burn meaningful draft capital on specialists, no matter how brilliant they were in college. The NFL demands consistency, and the position is unforgiving. The Moody saga joins the list of decisions that smudge Shanahan's image as an untouchable genius. He championed the pick and, out of pride, stretched the leash longer than he should have. The consequence was a season marred by frustration and a sense that the insistence was more about protecting the coach's image than helping the team. Inside the locker room, the decision carries weight. Imagine Christian McCaffrey running to exhaustion, Deebo fighting for extra yards, the defense holding explosive offenses, and all of it evaporating on a missed kick. Players feel that it chips away at collective belief. Cutting Moody now changes the message. Everyone's effort must be valued, and repeated errors won't be tolerated. The fan reaction, in turn, mixes sarcasm with relief. Many had called for his exit since mid-last year, noting that Trey Lance, an infinitely more valuable pick, didn't get half the patience Moody did. That contrast became ammo against the front office's decision-making. But if there's one truth everyone sees, it's that any replacement already represents hope for better days. The next man up will carry heavy pressure, but paradoxically, he'll feel lighter than Moody did. Hitting the basics will already look like progress. For Shanahan, the challenge is proving he learned from the mistake and that the team won't repeat this kind of bet on lower impact positions. The move is late, but it's a step toward humility, something rare in how the franchise has handled recent draft choices. And while the dust is still swirling around that decision, a new spark is lighting the fan base's hope. A young target flashed on the field in a way that can completely alter the offense's hierarchy. And that, Niner faithful, is the kind of turn that moves more than numbers. It moves the franchise's heartbeat. Right in the middle of all that turbulence came the spark of hope that could change the direction of the entire season. Ricky Pearsall, the first-round wideout from 2024, sent the fan base into a frenzy in his debut against the Seahawks. It was only 4 catches, but each one hit with impact, 108 yards, and the clear impression that he and Brock Purdy built real chemistry during training camp. Executives and scouts surveyed by ESPN's Jeremy Fowler were blunt. Pearsall is a 2025 breakout candidate. The context makes it even more impressive. After a rookie year interrupted by a traumatic injury, 6 games missed after he was shot during a robbery attempt, the young receiver came back more focused, more prepared, and hungry to prove he can be a headliner. Even limited in 2024, he posted 31 receptions, 400 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Now with a full off-season and renewed confidence, he already looks like the piece that can lift the offense to another level. The timing couldn't be more strategic. With George Kittle out for at least 4 games and Juwan Jennings still a question after that shoulder scare, Pearsall has both the space and the need to become a primary target. It's not an exaggeration to imagine that if he keeps the Seattle pace, he could temporarily become a pillar of the passing game. For Shanahan, it's a golden chance. Drop a young, dynamic, healthy receiver into the center of the plan while stars recover. Fans, as expected, split between excitement and caution. Many see him as Jennings' natural successor if a trade really materializes. Others preach patience, reminding everyone that consistency is the real test in the NFL. Even the skeptics admit Pearsall flashed rare traits: burst after the catch, the ability to stretch the field, and the maturity to handle pressure. For Purdy, if he can stay on the field, Pearsall might be the perfect partner at the most delicate moment of his young career. And if Mac Jones ends up taking over temporarily, having a wideout starving for a chance to prove himself could be the difference between the offense stalling and staying on schedule. The big question hanging over Levi's Stadium is, can Pearsall carry that weight? The fact is, the narrative shifted. After weeks of talking injuries, trades, and cuts, the 49ers finally have a fresh name to reignite optimism. It feels like a special talent is about to break out in front of our eyes. And if that happens, it won't just be a short-term boost, it'll be a watershed moment for the franchise's future. Take a breath, Niner Nation. After a chaotic week, the picture is clear. The front office is flirting with bold moves, Kittle is working back, Purdy is racing the clock, and Mac Jones is waiting for the call, while Moody's exit resets the standard of what's acceptable. In the middle of it all, Ricky Pearsall lights the spark that reminds us new talent can reorder hierarchies. The season's fate might be born from these choices. Trade Jennings. Go get a tight end, protect the locker room and the confidence, and what would you do now? Drop your take in the comments, hit like, subscribe, and share. The NFC race is just getting started.